Okay, we're in Montserrat, here in this little anchorage here, and we're going to go to Antigua, which is here, and we're going to come out and around, and it's going to be rough and horrible, wind on the nose, wave on the nose. It's going to be really bouncy, really wet, a bit rough, but it's only 4 hours because it's about 30 miles, and we're going to go in to Falmouth Harbour, and we can book in there. It's really sheltered anchorage. We've been there lots and we love it.
Thank you, Montserrat, for having us. Really enjoyed seeing this beautiful, beautiful volcanic island. Our trip from Montserrat to Antigua was very bumpy, but at least we'd finally be all the way to the eastern part of the Caribbean. From the Bahamas until Antigua, we had to motor a great deal of the time into wind and waves. Antigua marks a turning point where we can finally head south and enjoy getting those white flappy things out called sails. As we were sailing along, this flock of pelicans joined us for a while. Interestingly, there are 8 different species of pelicans, and they can be found on all continents. The pelican family is at least 30 million years old, and pelicans don't just eat fish, they'll eat turtles and other birds too. And on occasion, pelicans will come together and hunt in groups, so this might be what they're doing now. Having been to Antigua already this year, our main reason for going was to show our friends on Rondo the island, as it would be their first visit. It would also be our crew member Douwe's first visit too. Here's Simon explaining to him the passage. The sun was quickly setting, and the trip took us slightly longer than calculated. It seemed that we came up against a bit of current. On most passages, we aim to get in during the daylight, but this will be our 7th or 8th time entering Falmouth Harbour, so we know the lay of the sea.
Yeah, it feels like a second home.
It does. This is going to be the 2nd time we've been here.
Yeah.
This year.
This year.
This time we're bringing our home with us, which is always much better.
Yeah, it is.
Our friends on Rondo arrived before us, so they called to tell us where a mooring ball was. Once moored up, we headed into town to have a meal at our favorite restaurant called Trappist, and the kids seemed to enjoy messing around as usual. The next day, Simon went into town and radioed us that we were all booked in. So one of Sienna's jobs is to manage our flags. She brought down the yellow Q flag, and then she put up the flag of Antigua. To me, Antigua is the Caribbean's main sailing hub. There's the Antigua Race Week and the Antigua Classic Regatta, hosted there every year. And lucky for us, we've been able to partake in the races on other people's boats. And in 2016, we did the Oyster Antigua Regatta, where Britican actually won the whole event. Make sure to watch our 2-part video series showcasing our wins. After doing a bit of provisioning in town, we headed back to the boat and invited Rondo over for supper on our 2nd night in the mooring. The meal was Simon's special carbonara and garlic bread. While the food was being prepared, the kids messed around and the adults had light conversation.
So are your eyes closed, Caitlin? I don't think so. She's avoiding furniture pretty well.
Yeah.
But she's not going to get a mosquito bite.
Go.
Oh, you almost got somebody. Got my white wine.
And there is more.
There's plenty here.
Yeah, everybody eating. Thank you, Sam, for cooking tonight.
It's okay.
Our plans were not to stay in Antigua for too long. We planned on doing 1 day of sightseeing, so Simon, Sienna, and I had to think real hard about what everybody would like to do. We started off heading west on the island and stopped at the Tropical Forest zip line, thinking that the kids would love it. Actually, we drove up the road a bit further to Jolly Harbor and got all the things we needed from the budget marine store, but I must have been too bored to video that. Whenever cruisers have a car, they will most definitely stop at a marina store. The kids really enjoyed the zip line. There's a few of these dotted along the Caribbean island chain, and it's a great excursion for the boat kids. Instead of swimming in the sea, they get to fly through the forest. The cost was about 80 Eastern Caribbean dollars, and it lasted for about an hour.
Her legs are just hanging. Oh, she even got an extra push. Look at it.
Yes, Sienna! Woo! Woo! Is she gonna make it?
Is she gonna make it?
No. After the rainforest, we went for a splash at one of our favorite beaches called Driftwood Beach.
We've got the beach pretty much to ourselves.
After cooling off and getting a bit of lunch, we ventured over to the Antigua Donkey Sanctuary. Earlier in the year, we flew into Antigua to visit friends. While staying for 10 days, we came to the sanctuary where our friends adopted the donkey named July for Sienna. Being so close to July, we had to stop by and say hi. While we were there, I think Rondo may have adopted a donkey or two too. Our next stop was just outside the capital of St. John's to visit a really good grocery store. On the way, however, we detoured over to what is usually a very nice beach called Half Moon Bay. Back in March, this beach was packed with people, but in the month of June, the seaweed buildup was terrible. For some reason, there was a ton of seaweed this year. While visiting Antigua, it would be impossible to miss the famous Shirley Heights. It's a restored military lookout and gun battery offering harbor views, hiking trails, and a bar eatery. The views in every direction are breathtaking, and it's always fun to look down into the harbor you're anchored in and pick out your own boat. We finished our tour down in Nelson's dockyard at Boom, where the adults could enjoy a drink and the kids a swim.
Yeah, that will be it. Thank you. Our freezer has 2 plates, cooling plates, and one broke. And Douwe, whose head's in there, brought one over. I ordered one and sent it to his house, and he brought it over, and we've now changed it. And it's pretty easy. The only difficult thing is getting the connectors through the little hole that's been made, and that took an hour and a half. About 45 minutes taking it out, and about 45 minutes getting it in. And it works, so we're just putting it back together, and we can have a fully functioning freezer.
After fixing the refrigerator, we had a traditional Sunday lunch. We spent 6 weeks in Antigua getting our gooseneck repaired, and this was the restaurant that we spent most of our time at. It was perfect for us to get some work done, and then there was a pool right there so that Sienna could spend time swimming in the pool. Thank you, Antigua, for having us. We had a great time.
Yeah, brilliant time. Yeah, I had a great time. Love Antigua.
Alright, everybody say thank you.
Thank you, Antigua, for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Antigua, for having us.
We'll be back. So Simon just got a fish. I can spill. I'm not sure if I can go anymore. I'm trying to spill all the possible wind I can. So I dropped the main. Pulled in the jib. I know, Douwe. Good job. Hold it.
What a morning! We left Antigua at 7 and put the lines out because we're having a competition against Mikey, who's a 13-year-old boy on Rondo, and we caught ourselves a male, mahi-mahi or dolphin, whatever you want to call it. We had to drop both sails because there's so much seaweed about that we had like a 2 football sizes of seaweed on the line, and we just couldn't reel it in, and it was fighting like mad. Now in the fridge, it's a bit too dangerous to fillet it with this, and we're now doing 8.8 with 2 reefs in. It is happy days on Britican. How are you finding it, Douwe?
Loving it.
You're loving it?
Oh yeah, got my first fish ever on sea. Think it was a good one.
Yeah, it was a nice size. We are a third of the way to Guadeloupe. Antigua is 14 miles behind us. We've got about 28 miles to go. We're doing 8.6 and we are flying. It's a great passage.
Unfortunately, it wasn't too great for me. After wallowing in the swell while pulling in the fish, I turned a slight shade of green. On the horizon, Simon noticed another oyster was sailing towards us. He looked up the boat on our boat tracking system called AIS and realized that he knew the owner. Simon called him for a chat.
Had a really slow passage waiting for weather windows up.
On our next episode, find out what we get up to in Guadeloupe. Mike from Rondo gives us a lesson on how to fillet a mahi-mahi. I get the sewing machine out. Douwe takes the ceiling down. Sienna acts like a goofball. We find some amazing waterfalls. A boat drifts off a mooring ball and heads out to sea unmanned. And we dive in a Jacques Cousteau park. Hey, thank you so much for watching our videos. If you enjoyed this, please give a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to see more of our videos. If you're interested in the live aboard cruiser's lifestyle or want to learn about how you can transition into a lifestyle like ours, please visit sailingbritican.com. We have over 400 articles, helpful guides, and a special club for those that want to fast-track their plans.